what did Pablo Torre find out this week between the league and the NFL Players Association involving the concept of collusion, Tom?
Well, first of all, I would say, good work, obviously, by Pablo to dig up the document. I personally had not put in 1 second of effort to getting it because the decision was out in January. There were a lot of other things happening at that time. And so it wasn't something I was going to dig up once we knew that the NFLPA had not prevailed in the collusion case. And therefore, there was not going to be any type of fallout in terms of, cap consequences, payouts to players, any of the things that had they prevailed, you would have had some of that fallout. I have read the entire document. I think that there were, certainly some interesting exchanges in there, including between owners and things like that. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to give you an opinion on whether or not I believe that, collusion was proven based upon the evidence.
Right. We'll leave that to Florio, right, Tom?
He'll get another 75 posts about this. No one needs to tell Mike to dig harder for a conspiracy.
I don't want to get between you guys, not at all. But Mike is covering this extensively. That is for sure.
I have seen as much. I would say this because there's been speculation from him and others about why was there this conspiracy to conceal this document. I mean, first of all, decisions by the system arbitrator who's jointly selected and paid by the NFL and NFLPA, those are not generally public. They're not like personal conduct decisions.
Right.
Secondly, this remains an open legal process from the perspective that the NFL Players Association hypothetically could file an appeal, take this into federal court. I would say, just my opinion, I believe that that's unlikely that they're going to do that because the bar for federal courts to get involved in collectively bargained processes is so high that it would be hard for them to prevail at that level. But, the idea that this was, you're trying to cover for J.C. Treader or D. Smith or anything else, I think is extraordinarily far-fetched. Neither side has commented because, A, they had an agreement to do that, and B, because the NFLPA, it's been 5 months. They're probably not going to do it, but could they file an appeal? Could they take this to court? There certainly are options out there if they chose to pursue them. I would say in terms of the document, the most significant thing, if you want to believe that there was collusive activity, was the emails back and forth between Roger Goodell and Jeff Pash, talking about inserting into a presentation at the league meeting in question in 2022, language with regard to a rise in guaranteed money, a rise in dead money around the league, in addition to the Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed contract, that in turn was setting a precedent that had not previously been there, but also creating a spending cycle in which if teams continue to spend cash over cap by using large signing bonuses, then over the course of time, players could end up getting more than their 48% and change that they're due under the CBA. The issues with proving then that that's collusion are manifest. There's a lot of different ones. For one thing, most teams, just as a matter of course, don't spend cash over cap in perpetuity. If you do things like that, if you end up with tons and tons of dead money every year, you end up like the Saints, and you're constantly having to push money out in the future. Every dollar you spend hits the cap eventually. It's just not a sustainable model that most teams want to follow. There's also a line in there from both John Mara and Robert Kraft. The Kraft line made me chuckle, which was, you want your opponents to do stupid things with the cap. You want other teams to do dumb things. In other words, the idea of collusion would be, we're all going to get together and do things the same way. No, you want to do things smarter than everybody else. And then as you get into the individual negotiations there, Rich, I think that you peel back the layers on a lot of these. Take Lamar Jackson, for instance.
Yes.
Eric Acosta made multiple fully guaranteed offers to Lamar Jackson, but they were on shorter term deals. For everybody who says players deserve fully guaranteed contracts in the NFL, and certainly we all watch the sacrifice on the field and the injuries and say they deserve all the money they have coming to them. But if you were in an environment where fully guaranteed contracts were the norm, they would skew towards shorter term contracts, which is what we've seen already in recent years, which is rather than doing the 6-year contracts that Jerry Jones likes, you're doing 3- and 4-year contracts where almost all of it is fully guaranteed. Again, I'm not going to pass judgment, Rich, on whether or not collusion was proven by the testimony. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a judge. I would just say, in my reading, and over 20 years covering the NFL and understanding the collective bargaining agreement and speaking to many people on all sides of this, going back years from the first time that there was a whiff that there would be some type of a collusion proceeding. A lot of what's in here is business as usual. Every front office executive, every owner, every GM wants a player with another team to get as little money as possible. Every agent, every player wants the guy who's in a similar position to get the most money possible from somebody else. Okay. It is a series of trying to reset markets, whether it's upward or downward. It's trying to set and reset precedents. That's what all this negotiation is. The management council exists and has for decades because the players union doesn't want to negotiate with 32 different teams and owners on every aspect of the CBA. They want one body that speaks for the collective. That's why the management council is heavily involved in CBA negotiations. The process by which this was decided is in the CBA, and the judge ultimately decided there was not significant evidence here to award damages to the hundreds of players that they alleged.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.